We are going to be talking about general canine anxiety tonight. And I'm using the term general because canine anxiety is such a large topic, and the training and what you need to do is pretty specific on each dog, well, each dog too, but each behavior. So separation anxiety training is a lot different than thunder phobia training. So canine anxiety, so when we posted this topic in the group, I asked what some of the common anxieties your dogs have, just so I can kind of get an idea of where you guys are coming from. Again, canine anxiety, huge topic. It's like saying, you know, teach me how to cook. You know, you're like, okay, well, let's see. Are we going to cook pies? Are we going to cook steak? Are we going to do crock pots? You know, there's so many different variables on how to cook. And it's the same thing with dog training. It's the same thing with dog anxiety, you know, and all that stuff. So today what I wanted to do is I just want to break it down into the main concepts of when you're trying to help a dog with anxiety. And afterwards tonight, I'm going to go into the comments, so look for them. If you can't find them, as always, let me know. I'm going to go into the comments and I'm going to post additional links to some of the things that I've already written or done videos about, you know, separation. So separation anxiety. So in case you don't know, I did write a book 5 years ago, maybe. It's called Please Stay, and it is a step-by-step guide on treating separation anxiety. So it does go through all of the protocols on what to do. So I'll add that link too. It's tough, you know, and I won't lie. Treating anxiety is really not the most enjoyable thing to do. You guys all probably know me, obviously, from Dexter, 12-year-old, silly, confident, happy-go-lucky monkey over there. Is this pointing right to him? And that didn't happen overnight. So when Dexter was a puppy, I got him as a puppy. So right off the bat, and so I got him from a nice breeder that was already working on prevention and handling. So he came as a happy, healthy puppy. And so I was able to kind of go on from there. And so I continued with that training with Dexter at prevention. You know, preventing noise phobia, preventing thunder phobia. You left out adorable. Thank you. He is kind of adorable, isn't he? You know, preventing separation anxiety. You know, I want to, you know, what I do, the main part of my business and my clientele have always been twofold. They've been behavioral issues and puppies and dogs starting on the right track. So when I get the ones starting on the right track, I go, why are they coming the other side? And that's these behavioral issues. So let's work on focusing on preventing those issues from happening, because if we really pay that attention that first 2 years they're developing, for those first 2 years, if we really focus on preventing this garbage, then we have a nice easy life for the most part in the future. So when we have the issues, you know, separation anxiety, storm phobia, afraid of strangers, shut down dogs, it's more difficult because they're already coming with that baggage. So we're already going, all right, we have these issues, we have these anxieties. So I already have this notion that I'm afraid, I don't like this. And so that was Dexter. So preventing Dexter and helping my clients prevent that. But before that, before little old monkey Dexter, I was actually a service dog trainer, and I had a puppy golden retriever that was rescued at about 3 months. They were in the shelter. It was actually 3 of them, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. They were 3 golden retriever puppies. They stayed in the shelter for a week because they thought, you know, they found them, so they thought maybe someone lost them. So when I brought Theo with me, he was a normal puppy, but a little shy and a little reserved and had some kind of random, oh, I got startled because of this, you know, this kind of what would normally be a normal thing would kind of startle him. And over that, and again, that was when he was about 3 months old. And over those first few months, by the time he was 6 months, he was getting a little more anxious about random things. And I was training service dogs. He was going to be a demo dog, so he was getting out and about. And then by the time he was 9 months, you know, the anxieties continued, and then he had dog reactivity. And then we started to develop so then we started to develop noise phobia, thunder phobia, right, Allison? We got thunder phobia, and then thunder phobia then is noise phobia, or vice versa. And then phobias of noises, thunderstorms and noises, will springboard separation anxiety. So we got the whole gamut with Theo. So during Theo, that was 2001, and again, I was training service dogs, so I wasn't learning about that type of behavior. I'm trying to learn and help him along the way. So that said, you know, spending all that time with Theo and, you know, me, just what can I get my hands onto? And that was a time where the internet wasn't quite as often. You know, we didn't get all that information up there. So all the workshops and seminars I literally had to go to, or now I could dive in online and go boom, 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 and more information. So we're getting more information, more research as we're going along. And I will say too, with all the anxieties that we have with dogs, noise phobia and thunder phobia, yay, from the UK, yay, is not clapping for noise phobia and thunder phobia, but those are personally, I think, the two hardest things to deal with. And the reason is, as we're going to talk about the training concepts, the one thing that we really need to do to change a behavior is to control their environment and to try to prevent it from happening in the first time. And weather and noise, you know, it's pretty darn difficult. So I think that's where that big challenge is. So anyway, so let's go ahead and get on to it. But what we want to do when we're thinking about anything with dogs is to recognize when they're stressed or anxious. And it doesn't have to be a full-fledged panic attack. So if I can think about, so Theo, my golden retriever, when he was in a full-blown panic attack during a storm, he would literally want out. You know, I mean, they're not in their right mind. It's not like you can say, sit down, stay, because all they're thinking about is escape. You know, you can think about yourself, and you know, I always like to correlate, what are you afraid of? And what if whatever your worst fear is I made that happen to you and you had no escape, right? I mean, you're going to probably go into a panic. And for some dogs, that also means they're going to growl or bite. You know, I need to get out. And that's what Theo would do in the house, you know, and he'd just be like so panicked that he's trying to get out, go outdoors. Not Theo, but dogs have gone out windows. Theo tried to do that once at the very beginning before I had to puppy proof our room when I lived in North Carolina. Literally, I boarded up my windows. We had to go into one room, took everything out of my bedroom. I had one little end table that was metal because he would eat everything because he's just going into that panic and he doesn't know what to do. Dug up my whole carpet, ate the metal door. Again, that panic of, the world is ending. So they're not in the right mind. So that's a very obvious sign of anxiety. But way before that, for certain situations like fearful of strangers or not too sure about, you think about Halloween and all the blow-up things that are outside, not too sure about that, they might do something like just change in behavior. So they're walking along and, they're kind of go lucky, and all of a sudden something changes. They stop. Or they're going, ha, 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 and their mouth goes, it stops and shuts. Or, their body and their tails just kind of go waggling, and then boom, we stop. That's a change in behavior. That's from one thing to another, and that automatically makes me go, okay, what's going to happen? Because my dog is going to do something. That change and that flow, he's going to go somewhere. He's either going to be stressed and need to back away, or stress and react, or overstimulate. But that stop is telling me, okay, I need to help the situation now. What is my plan? And my plan will kind of depend on, what my dog is, what is it that we're doing. So if I'm going for a walk with a puppy and they see one of those weird little Christmas, boy, I'm 2 months ahead, right? See one of those Halloween things that my puppy stops, like, well, if it's a puppy and we don't have any fear yet of this, then I'm going to go, aren't you, you're so silly. Can we go say hello? And I want to see, can I, and they're going to go by your body language. So if I have something scary here and me and my puppy are over here and I'm saying, let's go check it out, because he's not like, freaked out, but he's like, I need to decide what I need to do, then I'm going to move my body close to this, not him. So I'm going to get closer to this item as I can say, come on, you want to come say hello? And if he wants to, I can say, that's it, good job, aren't you so smart? And if he wants to back up, if he wants to move away, we move away. We always want to make sure that we're not, whenever we can, that we're not forcing our dog to do something that he doesn't want to. And the reason I say whenever we can is, there are situations where sometimes they have to do something. They have to go to the vet. And we'll talk at another time about making happy vet visits. Actually, I think Animal Wellness just posted one of my articles on that, so I can link that up too. But I want to slowly go, hey, let's check it out. And at his what he wants to do, can we get a little closer? Maybe, maybe not. Aren't you so smart? Do you want a treat for that? What I don't do is I don't take the treat. I'm backwards here. Here's a scary thing. I don't take the treat and try to lure my puppy to it, because he's just going to be following the food if he does. I want him to make a conscious effort of doing whatever it is he wants to do, and then I'll reward him if he does it. Okay, so it's not here, here, because he might go here, here, okay, I take the treat, and all of a sudden he sees where he's at, and he's like, oh crap, you know, and then I just scared my puppy. So instead, I want to, if he comes to it, go ahead and reward it, or if he looks at it, go ahead and reward it. So whatever it is that he wants to do. So again, that change in behavior is my first cue, something, you know, I'm not too sure about what's going on. And then moving back. So when a dog gets anxious or is unsure, and again, anxious, unsure, scared, fill in the blank. If my dog is moving back, his body, his ears, his butt, his eyes, turning his head, anything away from something, again, he's telling me, not thrilled with what's going on. You know, how scared, it'll depend on your dog, but I'm not thrilled with that situation. So I'm looking, so you might be trying to do something. When I teach eye contact, teaching the dog to look in our eyes, eye contact, staring at the dog is actually threatening to dogs. We want to teach them that it's good and it's safe, but you might be just going, oh, I'm trying to teach my dog eye contact, and yeah, you know, you have that firm face, you're like, look. And he's like, holy crap, you know, I'm not going to look at you, because again, in his mind, looking at you is threatening. So he'd be threatening you or challenging you. So if you have the stern look, he's like, oh, I don't think so, I'm going to look away. So there's that look away. So he's uncomfortable with that situation. So if your dog is moving away from something, I remember going to a seminar, again, years ago, about shelter dogs and evaluating dogs, and, you know, are they good for adoption? Are they good for families? And not only do we look at looking away, but we can also look at not approaching. So if I'm going and I'm taking my dog for a walk and say there's a person, and again, I always give my dog that option of, do you want to say hello? I don't drag them to say hello, and I don't let people go rush my dog to say hello. I always want my dog to do the actions, because it's less threatening. And again, my dog's given that choice. So if someone's standing here and they're like, oh wow, what a cute puppy, you know, can I say hello? And I can say, hey Dexter, you want to go say hi? And kind of motion to go say hello. Again, my body language will go with that person to kind of encourage my dog, and I would squat down on the ground too. But if that dog doesn't have any interest, he's not going to say hello and that sort of thing, again, he's told me, yeah, not interested. Whether it's I'm afraid of that person, or I just don't feel like saying hello, or whatever it is, but I'm not interested. So what do I want to do? Fine. You don't have to go say hello. So again, we don't want to force our dogs. But moving back and away. Tail. So if our tail, so far, let's see. Here's our body. So far, Cavalier, I almost said Golden Retriever because I was thinking Golden. If our Cavalier's tail is kind of like this, and we're bopping around, and we start to get nervous, again, that first thing I said was what? Stop movement. So the first thing that will usually happen is stop. And then the next thing that will happen if we're starting to get nervous, well, things will go down. So we're going to go down and in, and our butt will probably go back too, okay? And then it can go all the way tucked and come all the way out here. I've had dogs' tails come, you know, up and around. And now if we're getting, okay, here we go. If we're getting overstimulated, this will be another topic, but if we're getting overstimulated, things go up. So if we're getting overexcited, overzealous, then things are going to go up. And so for my Golden Retriever with the dog reactivity, so this was his normal, and then we get happy, kind of do this, kind of boppy and loose. But when he would get overstimulated, his tail would go up high, and his big feathers would go swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. And that told me, whoa, I messed up big time. You know, we went way over his threshold because we got all the way up over there. But again, nervous, we tend to go down. And nervous can become reactive, as with Theo. So I said Theo was reactive by, what, about 6, 7, 8, 9 months. By 9 months, he was really reactive. And it started because, sorry for those who like doggy daycares, but it started because he got too many beat-ups in doggy daycare. So he decided to be proactive and get you first before that. Interesting on the overstimulation. Yeah, so overstimulation, and they can do both, by the way. So you think of shelter dogs, You'll see a shelter dog who's like, okay, there's a friendly human, so I'm happy there's a friendly human, but I'm in the shelter, so I'm really scared. So their body language is like all over the place. And again, that just tells me that dog isn't in his happy zone. He's conflicted, and confliction means I need help. So again, it's going to tell me that he still needs help because he's still not in that happy, I'm go lucky, I'm Dexter over there taking a siesta. So the other thing that I hear a lot of is my dog's not listening, you know, and again, this is in context of anxiety or fear. So you're out for a walk and maybe you're seeing a dog and your dog is overstimulated by other dogs, or is scared of other dogs or what have you. And he's not listening, he's not doing his sit, and you've already trained a sit outside in public without distraction, and then he does well. So that's first thing, you gotta make sure you've trained that properly first. So he normally does all that. And now you're in a situation where he's overstimulated or nervous or scared or fill in the blank. Like, behavior is pretty, once you get a concept of it, it's pretty cut and paste. We just need to manipulate some things slightly, but the training concepts are all the same. Christy, I get to see your puppies tomorrow. But so not listening. So he's focused over there on the other dogs or the people because he's not sure of it, and you're telling him to sit, and you think, oh, he's just not listening to me. He's not paying attention. Again, he can't. He's in another mind. Think about what you're stressed about. So if I don't like bugs, you know, so if I don't, you know, I mean, I used to pick them up when I was little, but something changed, and you know what? I can't even figure out what it is, but I used to pick up spiders and things like that when I was younger, and now it's like, oh my God, spider, someone kill it. So if I'm having this conversation with you, and there's a spider over there, and I know it's over there, and it's like working its way, and it's crawling one, I'm going to go ahead and get it. I'm going to say sorry. But if I can't, I'm leashed up, you know, I'm stuck in my chair, and you're not letting me move somewhere, and I'm watching the spider, and I'm like, is this spider going to get closer and closer? And you're trying to ask me a question or trying to do something. Am I listening? No. You know, because I can't. I'm freaked out about this spider. So our dogs, same thing. You know, if they're preoccupied on something else and they're scared, they ain't going to be able to listen. Another dog at distance, she stops still and growls, but then their tail is wagging. Oh, tail wagging. So again, with body language, tail wagging is just another way to communicate. So the important thing is when we're thinking about body language, I should say the first thing that I always like to do is I try to, you know, as you're living with your dogs, look at your dog on a daily basis and what's normal. You know, when Dexter's bopping around the house, and normal changes too. Dexter's bopping around the house when he was 1 is different than Dexter's bopping around the house when he's 12. So when he was 1, he might actually bop around the house, where now that he's 12, he kind of bobbles around the house. So if we're bopping around the house, where's our tail kind of hanging? And when we greet you and we're happy to greet you, what's our tail wag look like? When we're wagging a tail in your situation, say with Rosie, is that the same tail wag that Rosie gives you when she greets you? I'm going to guess no. And again, where is that tail? Am I overstimulated? So I think about that the shelter dogs. When they're wagging their tail and they're stressed, it'll tend to be low. So if we have this normal tail wag here, and I always think about, you know, soft, undulating, you know, ba-doop-doop-ba-doop, and I have this loose tail wag here, I might, you know, hi, there's mom, and then, oh, wow, then I really like this person because we're really excited, and we get all that, you know, excited, you know, stuff, or I'm not quite too sure, slow, yep, so it's slow and low, so I'm nervous, swoosh, and it could be slow, low, and fast, too, so I'm again, nervous dogs going low. So things are going low and getting tighter, and we still might have that little, okay, I'm still nervous, I'm probably a little submissive, you know, don't harm me. And then I'm growling because I want you to stay away. And I actually have links that I know I'm going to post, and one of them is don't punish the growl, because the growl is a way of your dog communicating, and what she's communicating is, we went way past my comfort zone. So, you know, I showed, and we, you know, we're human, we miss, and sometimes these subtle things can happen so fast. It's like, we go from boop, boop. So, again, we probably had lots of different subtle gestures ahead of that growl, and that growl is saying, you know, I've told you, I've given you all these other signals that I'm really unhappy. Here's another one. And the reason we don't punish the growl is because that's, again, them telling us, I'm so unhappy. Would you rather someone say, I'm about to shoot you, to give you a minute to retreat, or just go bam? And so when we punish growls, and this is what I did with Theo, by the way. Again, this was a long time ago. So Theo would growl, and I don't mean punish like I would harm him. Theo would growl, and I go, Theo. But again, his sensitive personality, that was enough to punish him. And so what I ended up doing was I took away Theo's growl. So he no longer growled at other dogs. Did he still feel comfortable about other dogs? No. So what did he do? Went for him. Because I took away the growl. So I took any warning that he was going to give us, and he went from boom, boom, boom. So we don't ever want to punish the growl. We want to go, we messed up. We need to go back. You know, how, and that's what we'll get to, is how far away do I need to get to make Rosie or whoever stay pretty, and she's deaf, okay. I do have an article on that, I'll add that too, but the article on deaf dogs isn't with deaf and anxious dogs, so you'll have other challenges too. You say deaf totally? Pretty deaf, okay. So yeah, so we'll get not to this there, but remind me. So again, we don't want to punish the growl, because the growl is saying, you know, you missed out. We're really, really telling you, no problem. And don't let me forget. So again, I'll link out to the growl. The growl, again, is another way for them to communicate. Their way for them to talk. The other thing is, again, changing. So panting. And a lot of behaviors we think about when they're stressed is out of context. So, you know, these are normal things that can happen, but it's in the wrong context. So if a dog starts panting, you know, dogs pant. They pant because they're hot and they're trying to cool themselves down. You know, they had that big walk, but they pant because they're stressed. So just another one of, you know, you see me, I mean, we all like, right? So we just all do things. You know, I need to do something with my hand. I need to do something with my body. And it's just one of their releases that they do. You know, they pant, and it just kind of makes their body. There's some technical stuff to it, and I don't know what it is. You're going to make me want to Google this when I'm done. But panting is another sign of stress. And it can get, and I have a picture of Theo of when he was outside and really panting because he was stressed with something going on, and his tongue, you know, just way down here, you know, so that wasn't even a normal tongue pant. That's like, oh my gosh, how much can my body get out? So panting, again, if your dog's panting out of context, is a sign of stress, panting or shutting the mouth. Spastic actions, so again, this was Theo, spastic actions, or circling and pacing. You know, that I'm going back and forth, I can't settle down, I'm doing one of these things. I don't just mean overstimulated because of squirrels, although that's still going to make me want to have them settle down. Constant moving positions, yeah. So again, that just like Theo Allison, you know, we get the panting in the, we're full-blown panic. You know, if we're doing all these things, we're going from mild stress to full-blown, oh my God, I'm going to die. You know, the world is coming down. And that's where it sounds like Romeo is in those situations, and that's where it is with, where it was with Theo, is it's not I'm a little stressed, it's the world's coming to an end. So the other thing is, if we're a little stressed, I still want to fix it. Because the thing with stress and anxiety is it doesn't just, I should never say doesn't ever, but it really rarely just goes away on itself. It might not produce itself that you see, especially with dogs that are shut down. You know, I always had those ears listening to what people say. Oh, he does fine at the grooming salon, and I just happened to have been there and saw the dog, and sure, the dog didn't do anything because he was shut down. He was immobile. You know, you see this by the terrible TV shows that you might see online. I don't know if they're even online anymore, but the dog's just shut down and not doing anything. That's not normal, right? You know, having your dog just not move is not a normal behavior too. So don't know when this started, but I have experienced a dog that have growl punished. So, okay, I'll read back. It slipped through, but I will read back to the comments, Tanya. So spastic actions and, you know, again, that's more, and that is still anxiety, but we're more past the calm anxiety, you know, subtle anxiety, just starting to be a little stressed and I'm freaked out and I'm gonna die anxiety. So we jumped by the growling comment early, but vocalization too, growling, whining, barking, moaning, you know, making weird noises, and you do want to take that into context with whatever else is, you know, kind of going on. So those are, again, some subtle signs of your dog is being stressed. What I really think about when we're trying to decide if your dog is stressed is it my dog's normal? I mean, if I'm hanging out with Dexter and this is what he's doing, and all of a sudden I present him with a situation and now he's doing this, you know, and it seems out of context and it just seems weird and he's not, you know, as happy-go-lucky, then yeah, he's probably stressed, okay? So again, the first thing we want to do is kind of determine on when my dog's anxious, because the next thing we need to do is we need to change his association, okay? And that's where some of the training stuff comes. So the basic idea, what you're doing with any kind of training, and when I'm working with prevention or I'm working on changing, it's anxiety isn't about doing things or not doing things. So separation anxiety isn't about not chewing the walls or not pacing, but it's about changing your dog's emotions from that, oh my God, don't leave me, I'm going to die, to, okay, you can leave, it's no big deal. That's what you're doing. You're not teaching them behaviors like sit and down and stay, although that can be incorporated into it. But you're really getting rid of, I always picture, when I think of anxiety, I always picture a dog with baggage. I don't know if it's because I like to travel or what, and I don't know why I'm always picturing, I must have seen a clip art or something, but I'm always picturing this Beagle Basset kind of mixed dog with suitcases next to him. And I think about that dog as, how many suitcases does he have that we have to get rid of? You know, what kind of baggage is he bringing to the table? Because the more baggage, the longer and harder it might be, you know, and not that it's, you know, an end all, but it just knows that, okay, you know, my dog has separation anxiety, he's thunderphobic, he's dog reactive, he doesn't like to be touched, you know, that, you know, so we're adding to that baggage. So that means slowly I need to work through that, but that's going to probably take more time than, say, a 1-year-old dog who's a pretty happy-go-lucky dog, but he's a little nervous of men. You know, kids, people, thunderstorms, everything else, fine, but he has this one little anxiety. So that tells me that, one, I just said he was 1 year old, right? That means he still has another full year of developing. So there's another full year of him actually developing more anxiety. So I definitely want that human to get in there and start tackling that man anxiety, and to overall build up his confidence so that hopefully nothing else pops in along the way. Okay, but that dog's, if the owner's on board, is going to be a lot easier to help change than the one that's got 12 bags of suitcases. Okay, and all this said is reliant on you as well, but it doesn't mean, so like Theo, I mean, I did everything that I possibly could that I knew at that time. Doesn't mean he got fixed, and it doesn't mean that there weren't things that I would have done differently if I would have known them now, you know, given me 25 extra years of knowledge. But we do what we know at the time and what we learn at the time, you know, and I also feel terrible when people go to trainers and we get bad information. So you're trying to solve this and you get, you know, this information, and that wasn't so hot. So again, we don't always want to put all the blame on ourselves, okay? So what we're trying to do too is, so not only are you addressing the issues, but it is a synergy effect. You know, I've talked about this in the group before. It's not just changing this, it's this, 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 and this, and they all play together. So it's not just focusing on thunderphobia or separation anxiety or dog reactivity, but it's also going, what else is going on in my lifestyle? What kind of diet am I on? You know, am I on a fresh food diet? Am I on a food or a protein that's helpful? So, you know, these dogs, they have all these anxieties, tend to have a Shen deficiency, and that's the heart Shen. You know, everything's kind of built here. So there's certain foods that help nourish that, and there's certain herbs that help nourish that. So those are things that we can look at. So when I'm working with a client, we are looking at those kinds of things too. What are some of the add-ons that I can do? But that also means that I want to take this dog and I want to help him feel comfortable, confident, and happy in all of his things at home. So I want to work on building up his confidence overall. So not just about these training exercises of whatever that baggage is, but boy, let's work on, you know, all those silly core strength exercises. But that's not silly core strength exercises. Those are mind games. Those are enrichments. Those are confidence boosting games for our dogs. Those tricks that you're teaching your dogs, you know, all those types of things, those all pull apart, you know, pull apart, pull into it. Yeah, it's a whole list. It's the whole dog. It is the whole dog. And if we don't do this, and so I mean, if you just go straight, you know, if you go to a trainer and we just do straight training and we don't do anything else, you'll still get results if you have a good trainer. So you'll still get there, but you might be able to get better results if you are tackling everything, or even quicker results. And the other thing that I think is, it's tough working with the stuff we don't like, you know, the baggage stuff. I mean, we want to make it fun. We want to make sure that we're setting them up for fun, but it's exhausting. You know, getting ready to go out for that walk and you're looking down the street to make sure there's no dogs or there's no people, and, you know, what am I doing? Am I going to go left? Am I going to go right? You know, that's exhausting. Or then I can have time with my dog inside the house where we're just focusing on fun things. You know, let's do this, let's do that. It gives me a break. It gives the dog a break. It boosts up their confidence. And then those skills that they've learned in home, we can incorporate those out and about too. So if they know how to do something at home and they can do it well, we can bring that into different environments, like outside and walks and the vet visits and things like that, to again boost that confidence and give them something else to focus on. So again, synergy. The other thing is the concept of the training is we're taking this scary thing, and what we're going to do is we're going to condition the scary thing or the scary situation or whatever to something positive. So this no longer equals the panic, fearful attack, you know, or whatever. We want this to equal good. So we know Pavlov, right? Do you remember way back when? If you're doing anything with dog training, it might come to mind a little bit, where they rang, they were dogs, right? They rang the Pavlov dogs. They rang the bell and then they fed the dogs. They rang the bell and then they fed the dogs. So what they're doing is they're conditioning the dogs that bell equals food. They didn't ask the dogs to do anything. Bell equals food. Bell equals food. Bell equals food. So what happens then is bell made the dogs drool, because what they're starting to do is they're anticipating the food. Bell, food, so bell, drool, right? Bell, I'm getting excited. You know, you hear the school bell, like, okay, it's lunchtime. You know, it's the same thing. So it's the same thing that I really focus on with all my training, is I want that to equal something good. Food, whatever that reward is. And you'll need to find out what that reward is for your dog. You know, I want that scary thing to be, oh my gosh, something exceptional. I tend to use food a lot because it's just easy, because I can use my food in different situations. I'm going to count that food as the daily calories, so they're not extras. Most dogs tend to like meat. We know dogs need meat in their daily calories, so it's an easy kind of transition to go, okay, my dog normally eats a half of a cup of X meat. I'm just going to use that in half of a cup in cooked meat and use it for training. But I want to make sure that that motivator also is changed, so that it's always different, you know, so that it's not always, if my dog likes turkey, I don't want it to always be turkey, because then turkey's going to get boring. You know, I like chocolate cake, and I get excited for chocolate cake. Day 3 of chocolate cake, it's still good, and I'm still going to eat it, but I'm not so as excited about it as I was in, you know, the anticipation of chocolate cake day 1. So, but then you're going to bring me a ho-ho, you know, then I'm going to get excited again, because it's still chocolate, and it's still something exciting that I like, you know, I like a lot, but it's different. So the same thing with our dogs' rewards, it's going to be different. And again, as the comments come in, I keep commenting, and I will come back and make sure I read them too. All right, so the other thing at home with that whole lifestyle change is we want to also give them some, what I call like a Zen lifestyle. So if we have stressful dogs, we don't want our house to be stressful. So see if you can kind of de-stress the house a little bit, and at least have some kind of calming massage time. And your massage, it doesn't have to be anything specific. I mean, you can find and Google, you know, the T-Touch and different types of massage to, you know, to work on different parts of the dog's body, and that's all good. That's fine, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to be that specific. Just think about your touch as to what you want your dog to be like. So if I want my dog to settle and be calm, I want my touch to be soft and kind of deep and long. So and I tend to kind of go up and all the way down. You know, so I'm kind of doing that kind of, Teddy loves this now. Yay, Teddy, I told you. So, and you might have to get him used to it at first. So it might be little touches at first. But I just want to kind of do massages. And each dog's going to be different. Dexter, he likes the big chest rubs, right? And this is, again, when they're not excited. I like to do this if we have young dogs. I like to do this kind of at TV time when they're done being a goofball and they're ready to kind of settle in. But we're just kind of get some massages in. And if you're by yourself, you can zen them out. I like Through a Dog's Ear, Volume 1. That's my favorite audio calming CD for dogs. Yep. And so we're going to be nice and calm. And what we're doing is we're giving them a nice outlet to relax and to bond. And you can also do a little lump and bump chucking too while you're doing that. But don't get too lumpy. You want to make sure you're enjoying it. Theo's was right here. You can also take your dog's body and help them relax. So that was what I would do with Theo. So, you know, he'd always be kind of tight here. Again, I told you back. So back was stressed, and you could totally see it in Theo's face. You could use a golden retriever. You could just kind of see all the stress over here. So I kind of rub him over here, lift up these ears, flap. And eventually you would see his ears kind of lighten up a little bit. So if we're doing this massage in a quiet, calming place at home, when we're out and about and maybe a little more stimulated, we're, Theo, waiting at the vet office. And again, prevention for Dexter. So, a little massage as we're waiting. So we're not getting, anxious and ramped up about it. Overstimulated dogs at the park, before we go for our walk. Just hopping into the car or hopping on a bench and just calming and relaxing. So again, but that won't work if you don't do it in a calm environment. If you're only trying to calm your dog down with massage when he's excited, it's not going to work very well. But what we're doing is, it's all about that conditioning. Back to that Pavlov. If calming and rubbing and touching at nighttime means it's tired and we're relaxing, and we do it in a more stimulated, where did Dexter go? Ah, the other side. He's behind the light. I'm like, where could he go? The door's shut. Little monkey. Yeah, he's snoozing behind the light, which is weird. He doesn't normally sleep there. He normally stays on that cooling and PMF bed. But if we're conditioning, calming, and quiet, and that's why I like that CD too. So again, my anxious golden retriever. So the Through a Dog's Ear Volume 1 came out when I had my golden retriever. And Theo, that was Theo. And Theo was so anxious, as a general rule, that even in the house, that he'd always had to kind of remember, he had separation anxiety that we work through. And by the way, he said he was thunderphobic. So it was a cycle of working through his separation anxiety. We'd get off having separation anxiety in the fall and winter when we had no storms. And then when the storms came, we'd springboard separation anxiety again. And then again, it would be that cycle. But he would always be awake and aware of my every move. So I bought the CD, Through a Dog's Ear, Volume 1, when it first came out, along with the book, because I wanted to learn everything about it, and put it in the house while I was there. He fell asleep. So it didn't cure his anxiety when I was gone, so I still used it when I was gone, but it, didn't make a big difference in that part. But again, I could see that it made a difference because he fell asleep and he didn't normally. But it wasn't enough for his anxiety to make that big of a difference. So after Theo passed, they still had the CD, and I used it as prevention for Dexter. So I did it as a conditioning. So when I did Dexter's massage as a puppy in my room, I did it in my room mostly, rather than the TV. I'd also play it, and I had it hooked up to the different TV back then, but I had it hooked up to that player. So as Dexter got his massage, the music was going. So again, I'm conditioning him: massage, music, calm, sleep. Massage, music, calm, sleep. And then when Dexter was crated, the CD would go on when I left him. So I'd put the CD on and he'd go crate. So again, CD, calm, sleep, crate. CD, calm, sleep. And eventually, with all that conditioning, as soon as the CD would go on, Dexter's eyes would go, huh? So again, conditioning him that meant sleep. Okay, so it's all about that conditioning. Again, dog, reward, dog, and we're going to go in a little more detail, but dog, reward, and positive reinforcement. So when you're with your dog, remember, they're not doing this out of spite. They're not doing this to make you angry. We want to keep them happy. We want to keep them safe. We want them to know that you're the safe person, that they can trust you, that you're not going to put them in a situation that they're going to fail at, so that when they're unsure, they can go, did you see that? And you can say, oh yeah, I saw it, no big deal. I saw that, puppies. Yeah, I saw that leaf fly across the floor. It's not a big deal. They can go, okay, as long as mom said it's good. Was that big wobbly? Did you see that? Yeah, I saw it. It's fine. Come on, let's go. So you want to be that safe person. And we've talked in my little video clips too about no, nuh-uh, wrong answer. We want to keep, and with these dogs that are nervous and anxious, I mean, most of the time, they're such soft little souls, like Theo. I mean, I had to make sure I blinked when I looked at him, because if I gave too long of an eye contact, he'd be like, oh my God. You know, and again, we'd look away. Remember I said that the looking away was a sign of stress, and I wasn't trying to freak them out. But at the beginning, I had to make sure that, you know, we keep things light and happy. When I meet new dogs, again, it's light, happy, look away. You know, we want to make sure, and you'll see dogs doing that to each other, too, because they're trying to tell the other dog that they're not stressed, you know, they're not a threat. They're going to go ahead and look away. So we want to keep their interactions with them positive, happy, fun, short, and sweet. Okay? Okay. So, let's see. The toughest part, before you can really start doing anything, is you want to figure out, and this is tough for some, not tough for others, but you want to figure out all your dog's triggers. You know, what are the things that get my dog upset? And I don't mean they have to go full-fledged panic. What are anything and everything, just list it down. Anything and everything that kind of stresses my dog out. Because what we want to do is we want to play Pavlov. We want to start teaching our dog slowly and in small little increments, and what our dog can expect and tolerate, that thing no longer is something to fret about. It's a good thing. So you just list them down, you know, write them. Your whole family member can see them too. You know, and again, I'm a single woman, so much, yeah, so write it down. Oh, so Theo, I lived in an apartment when I had Theo, and I had one of those electrical smoke detectors. I took it off and I covered it, and then I'd have maintenance come in and they'd fix it up and uncover it, and I had to turn it off again. So yeah, I took mine off. Sorry. You know, that's what I did. I had my lights off, not on timers and stuff. But anyway, that's part of the training program. But yeah, so we want to go, what are my dog's thresholds? What are the things that are going to pull my dog off? What do I need to get rid of that might go off when I'm not there? And the noise phobia dogs and thunder phobia dogs, that's the hard part. But what triggers my dog? And then be specific, not people. Maybe it is people, but, you know, men, women, kids, strangers, right? You're a people. Maybe they like you. Maybe they don't. Maybe we're shut down. I know, I think Barbara had a shut down dog. Yeah, separation anxiety. So step by step in there. But, you know, so grabbing the keys. So separation anxiety. What are the triggers? Grabbing the keys, putting on the coat. The alarm goes off. You know, Theo, again, had separation anxiety. Fix my hair. I didn't fix my hair if I wasn't going out, but if I plugged in my curling iron, bum, 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 the anxiety started. So that was one of the triggers, because you're going to slowly desensitize them to all those different triggers. So we need to mark on what it is. And then, what's the threshold? So if it's dogs, you know, where are those dogs? Is it big dogs, little dogs, all dogs, loose leash dogs? How far away? So Theo had the dog issue, and again, it was because of, I'm pretty certain he was attacked in daycare, because at the time of his dog issues, I actually lived at the training center with the service dogs, and he was actually, at the time, this is why it's so sad, that's why I don't really like daycares, but at that time, he was like the dog that had such good social skills that when we had a new dog in, we'd introduce him to Theo, because Theo was always, you know, the great little play bows and bopping around. Picked him up from doggy daycare, and it was night and day. First of all, I picked him up and he had this glass look on his face, and I'm like, okay, that wasn't good. And he was, by the way, crated in the room with the other dogs, running around playing when I picked him up. Took him to the training center where I lived, and boom, he just started, he went after the first dog that he saw. So I was like, whoa, okay. So overnight, you know, young adolescent. But, so his threshold was like a football field at the beginning. He'd see a dog across the street, he'd go bonkers. He'd see a dog, you know, down the street, he'd go bonkers. So I had to set up our first training. So I moved, by the way. So I moved out of the training center within a week and moved in with my dad, because I'm like, you know, in order for Theo to be successful, I have to get out of this environment. And that wasn't the first time I moved for Theo. And I realized, you know, we all can't just, you know, pack up and leave. But, you know, you try to figure out what is in my power? How can I change? Can I do this? So triggers. So how far away those dogs have to be successful. So for Theo, it was like a football field. So literally I'd meet friends with their dogs, and we didn't go to a football field, but there was one of those big open grassy parks. So we'd plan, they'd be way down there, and I'd be way down here with Theo, and I just told them, you know, just do your own thing way down there. I'm going to do my own thing with Theo way. And we didn't have cell phones back then either. How much easier would it be now? But so I just did my thing, you know, with Theo. And when again, Pavlov. So every time Theo looked at the dog way down there, and the important thing is, this is his threshold that he can be successful. So he doesn't react way down here. That's what I want. So he sees the other dogs. He's not reacting because he's in his comfort zone. So he sees the other dogs, and I pay him. Reinforcement. Food. For him, his reinforcement was actually this rabbit fur squeaky toy that I made. So it was this rabbit fur and had a squeaky in there. That was like his be-all, end-all. And that only came out with dogs at that time. At that time, it was just dog issues. So dog, squeaky toy. Dog, squeaky toy. And over sessions, and that big gap actually moved pretty quickly. Because remember, I moved out of the training center, so we weren't bombarded with other dogs. And that gap moved pretty quickly with training sessions. We got to the point where it was basically across the street. I still had to focus him. So I would still have to reward him for walking past dogs across the street. But we got to across the street pretty quickly in that scenario. You know, from here to across the street. So it wasn't like we were in the football field forever. But I worked often at it. So it's only going to change if you work often at it. And I micromanaged it. I mean, the other thing you want to do is, and we're all human and things happen and there's oopses and we'll talk about oopses, but the best you can, you don't want your dog to go through the anxiety. In order to change your behavior, you need to really, really try to dive down and eliminate all the stress and the anxiety and manage it. So sit down there with the family and go, okay, you know, how can I manage this? And again, I have different resources for you for each specific topic, and at the end I'll tell you some more. But that is the important thing, is we need to find the thresholds. So to the point where Theo passed, so his entire life, he's not going to go play with other dogs. I mean, we might be able to find doggy friends, but he didn't want to, and I didn't want to risk it. So that, you know, I didn't have another dog, so it wasn't an issue that I had to make him become friends. He became to the point where we'd come on the same sidewalk and I could step off the side, as long as the dog was on a leash. So if I saw extended leashes or other dogs pulling, so again, you want to look ahead and go, what's that dog like? So if I saw an extended leash or a dog ill-behaved at the other end of the leash, or an owner not paying attention to their dog, we move. So during our walks and every time you're out with your dog, I always say, you're on. You know, every time Theo is with me, we're on. I have to pay attention. I have to see that before Theo does. I have to be able to say, they're coming here. Theo needs this kind of space. I need to turn here. So I'm also thinking about where I'm at and where my out is. So constantly, you know, with Theo is, where am I? Where are the dogs going to come so that I can go here? So if a dog comes here, I can go here. If a dog, you know, and there was times where we lived on a lake and he loved the water, you know, and it was the distance we could keep. If we, you know, it was a big path that we could keep that distance, and there was woods up to the side and then lake. So we'd walk on the woods side. So we had an out, not on the lake side, because we're not going to have an out unless we all go swimming. So we had that out. So when the dog comes close to us, we start moving distance. And they're still letting their dog come. Dexter, there's Dexter again. Theo and I are up in the woods. We're in the dog. And so finally I'm like, stop. He doesn't want to say hi, because they were following us in the woods. So you have to learn how to police. Who do I care about? Anyone? Go ahead, comment. Who's my main concern when I'm out and about? That dog who's attached to me. Whether it's my dog Dexter, Theo, Christy's dog Haru, and Natsu. Those are the only dogs that I really care about. You know, I'm going to make sure that their safety comes first. I love all dogs, but if it comes down to this dog that's here or some random dog here, this is the one that's coming first. Okay? So again, when I'm up in that woods, I need to make sure that I police and say, we're not saying hello. It is tiring. That's what it was completely, you know, and it is, you know, love Theo to bits, obviously. Did everything that I could. The only thing I would change is I wish I would have been, as my puppy book, proactive. if I would have been more proactive right from the get-go about preventing normal common things like I was with Dexter, maybe I wouldn't have had all those things. You know, maybe we would have, and if I went and taken him to doggy daycare where it was unsupervised, not by me, you know, I might not have had the issues that I had. I definitely think something was still not quite right with him, but I still think that if I would have been more proactive, it would have been a different story. And that's why I always preach about prevent, prevent, prevent. People think that, oh, he's fine, don't worry about him. Like, no, prevent, prevent, prevent. Until he's 2, prevent madly. Because you're going to, can we see Dexter? Oh, no, I'm not quite, but he's shuffling around. He's like, here I am. But after Theo passed, you know, obviously horrible. It was a horrible situation because I had to make the choice of letting him go because his anxieties got so bad where he wasn't even living a happy life. But it was also a relief that he's at peace, and, you know, I was at peace knowing that he was at peace. But I will also say that because of Theo's issues, it did make me very aware of everything. And again, to be proactive with Dexter and all my other clients. With Theo's thunder phobia, for the first year, I mean, I was just like, of Dexter, I'm just like, oh my God, you know, throwing every storm, every noise, you know, throwing the meat. Did you see Dexter? Throwing the meat at Dexter, prevent, but my fingers would go numb every time a storm would come in because I'd get so anxious, and my mom's like, maybe you should just leave, you know, because, again, she doesn't want, you know, me to project that on Dexter, and she's very right. But, okay, so I got distracted. But again, we want to figure out those thresholds for your dog and make sure that we're below them. And again, each training scenario, each training anxiety issue kind of has its own little scenario on the things that you're working on about setting up that scenario. So then management, again, that's that management. So sitting down with that family and going, all right, you know, I can't leave Chester. You know, he's not ready for me to leave out the door. So what are our options? You know, do we have family, friends, neighbors? Can we put and be careful about ads, obviously, but schools. When I was in college, I mean, I didn't have a dog when I was in college, and my friends I went out and partied, don't get me wrong, but if I had a friend, I had this friend, not a friend, it was like a friend of a friend, and they were pet sitting this dog, and I was just like, oh, I'm hanging out with the dog. So they went out and did their thing, and I hung out with the dog. And anytime I kind of ran into that situation where, for whatever reason, I can't even tell you why, that college friend had a dog, or their dog came, I was with the dog, I was taking him for a walk. So if you're looking for a way to, you know, find someone to hang out with your dog while you're working on separation anxiety, check out schools and colleges, especially if they're doing like a veterinary program. Put out your feelers in churches and Facebook groups and your Cavalier groups, you know. There you go. I mean, for this live webinar, we're Cavalier people. How many Facebook Cavalier networking groups? Put it out there. My dog has separation anxiety. We are working through a protocol, but I have this 2-hour gap that I need to find someone to hang out with him, or he can go you. Those are the things that you're doing with separation anxiety, because when you're training separation, preventing and treating separation anxiety, you're teaching them to be alone, but it's like micro minutes. You know, some dogs it's like just out of your sight. You know, you're just building that out of your sight and building that, and you're building. So your goal is to not have any time alone that they can't do. And the funny thing is people talk about, trainers, I should say, talk about treating separation anxiety, and pet parents have this general concept that it's okay to put them outside of their comfort zone because we have to go to work. And I mean, I get that, but we do still need to find a solution for them. You know, you wouldn't say my dog's reactive, so I'm just going, well, sometimes some people do. So I'm going to throw them in a group of dogs and, you know, let them work it out. And again, that's why I said sometimes people do. But, you know, we need to make sure that we're trying to find that solution. But again, without going into too much detail. I refresh. It's probably because I'm so long. Oh, so our half hour is an hour already. Eek. So, okay. I think we're getting close. All right, so our oops moment. So when the oopses happen, so when you're working on, and I think about oops moments more like, not like the separation anxiety and you're leaving them because I don't want you to do that, but when you're out and you're focus on the dog. So like Theo, we lived in an apartment, so I would look out the apartment door before Theo came out, you know, and okay, who's coming out, and then coming out. Well, you know, sometimes it's still, you know, someone come down and then you're rushing back in and maybe Theo got too excited, or you come, and this is where you're really trying to figure out where can dogs come by, but we will have those oopses. They just swiped around the corner too fast, or that guy rushed you and you thought they weren't going to rush and the dog's like, whoa, exploded or whatever. Move away. So, hi Robin, we're back. So, don't freak out, try to be calm, but move. Don't get paralyzed. So many times people are like, you know, the dog's reacting and you panic and you stop. Instead, move away. This is the thing that they're reacting at. This is you guys. Move. Move. You know, I'm always telling my clients, move. Don't worry, just move. Distance. That's all you need. Just get that distance, and see if you can regroup. You know, now the thing's probably gone away, and that's fine. See if you can regroup with your dog. Can you let him sniff? I like Sniffy a lot. You know, can we go, okay, just go sniff. You know, I'll even take food and toss it in the grass to kind of get them going. Can I get them to just focus on something else, you know? And usually you can. Don't go back to that thing anymore. But just try to refocus your dog. Don't worry, that happened. But every oops moment that we have, it makes it more challenging because the dog was exposed to something they're, you know, not comfortable with. They responded in a way that we don't want them to. So it's just one more, you know, into the bag. It's just why you're trying to not expose them. But when it happens, it happens. Again, things happen. But try to regroup. Yeah, I like Sniffy, and over the years, more, and I did it with Theo, but more and more just incorporate sniffing, you know, and you know, you hear me talking in our group all the time to let them sniff and follow them around. Same thing, especially with our anxious dogs. When you're going for your regular walks and stuff, let them explore, let them take the lead. And I'm not saying dragging you around, but they want to go left, and if you can, go left again. Keep that space where you need to make sure that it's safe. I always make sure that they're safe, but I try to let them kind of guide, look around. I give them the cue, let's go sniffy sniff. That means I'm going to follow them around, again, keeping them safe. And then when I'm ready to walk where we're going to go, I just say, okay, let's go. You know, walk where we're going to go. Dexter a little bit more mosier than he used to be. And then, again, another little sniffy sniff, investigate. But that's all good. Let them dictate it. Same thing when you're working at home. Hey, I don't know why I keep saying working, but when you're training at home and you're doing tricks and things like that, I often might think, and this might not be the best training thing to do, but I think it's the better doggy thing to do. I might be set out to do something like, I don't know, have Dexter push a mat with his nose. And Dexter does something else. He's like, yeah, I think I'm going to take my paw and swipe this way. And he looks at me like, did you like that? There's my moment to decide. Do I really want to focus? And, you know, it's up to you. Do I really want to focus on rolling the mat with my nose? And I could. Or do I want to go, you know what, that was cute and you're enjoying that, so I'm going to change gears and let's work on kind of letting you do that, you know? And you can switch gears. Unless you're trying to teach something specific, you know, you have rally obedience and you're really working on, and even that I still might have off times where I go, okay, let's go ahead and do this for a little bit. I don't know. I like them to be dogs and like them to have choices and to kind of make their choices. Or if you are trying to teach so maybe you got 4 specific rally things that you're trying to teach. You know, one's to do a figure 8 and one's to jump over. So let's do 2. And one's to jump over. Maybe you set up both things and go, what do you want to work on? And let them pick the one obstacle they want to work on, and then you work on teaching that. So they still picked the choice, and you'll still work on your training, but they got to kind of choose which one they want to do. So maybe that way. And you can tell that I don't do sports and stuff. I did just as goofing around, but... Okay, sorry. And I'll read these as I go by. I do get distracted. Woo, woo. But will my dog be cured? You know, will he be fixed? Will he stop? Will he be okay? Will he be able to go to doggy daycare? God, no. But, you know, don't know. You know, you don't really, one, I can never answer that because there's too many variables. How long your dog's been fearful, what he's fearful about, how kind of situation he lives in, how well you're able to manage it. You know, there's just too much to say. But with the right things, they'll always be able to improve. So with Theo and his thunderphobia and his anxieties and his dog reactivity and things like that, everything improved, and except for the noise, you know. So the noise phobia was one of the things that got worse over time. And I think, again, it's because it's one of those things that we can't control as well. So for Theo and his thunderphobia, he developed his thunderphobia when I lived in North Carolina, when I lived in Raleigh. I lived on a lake, and we had thunderstorms every evening at 5 p.m. And they weren't your normal thunderstorms. I mean, they were shake the house, you know, shake the whole thing thunderstorms. So, I mean, they're even scary for people that aren't afraid of thunderstorms. So, we moved again. So, and that's how we got back to Toledo. So, I moved from Raleigh with all the thunderstorms where I lived alone, and pet sat and did training lessons, and I actually would hire, I had pet sitting staff that I had a couple girls that helped me pet sit, and I actually would have them come sit with Theo while I did pet sits because of the thunderstorm phobia and separation anxiety and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I did that management. He was still nervous, but at least he wasn't left alone to, you know, hurt himself. And that was the biggest thing with Theo, is like, how are you going to hurt yourself? You know, clawing things and things like that. So then I moved here with my mom, so that again we can kind of micromanage his anxieties and work with them. And we didn't have thunderstorms every night. So we're in Ohio now, and we have thunderstorms, but it wasn't like every night like we did in North Carolina. So in sense, that got better, and his thunderstorm anxiety got better. We still had it, so it wasn't so panicky, and it was more managed and controlled. So I guess it didn't get worse, but his noise phobias got worse. So he got more in tune to random noises way down the thing. So we'd go outside to go, and that's the thing with noise. You know, you're trying to do your best to help them. And again, less tools back then. Remember, this was 20 years ago, so I had less tools back then than I do now. But we'd go for a walk, and you didn't know that someone was going to hit the jackhammer over there, or the air gun or something like that, and then that would, you know, make him nervous and go into a panic. You know, you couldn't manage that, and you'd have to kind of regroup and kind of, you know, come home and, you know, hopefully get over that. So will they be cured? It depends on the anxiety. Can they be helped and better? Yeah. And some things technically can be cured if you go through different programs, like the separation anxiety. So if you go through the program of separation anxiety and truly go, yep, he's not going to be left home alone where he can't do it. And that's the thing. I mean, you have to really commit. You can't do half of it. And if you half of it, sometimes he's left alone, sometimes he isn't. You're not going to get there, okay? And the other thing is, you still want to, even if you get to the point where you can leave him for 3 hours or whatever, but you can't do second leaves. And that was with Theo too. I could get to the point with his separation anxiety that I could go and leave, but I couldn't do a second leave. I couldn't come home and do something else and then leave him again, because then he'd be too stressed. And the springboarding thing that would happen is, all through off season of thunderstorms, you know, because we know winter we don't have thunderstorms, but I'd be working our separation protocols, and then we would get to the point where we didn't have separation anxiety, and that would be good, and we'd have that for a few months, still working to keep them, you know, fresh. And then when thunderstorm season would turn around, then again that would springboard separation anxiety. And I think the studies indicate they're loose, but between 40 to 60 or 40 to 70%, again, is a loose estimate, of dogs with thunderphobia or noise phobias do develop separation anxiety. So when I get a client that's dog is noise phobic or thunderphobic or any kind of phobias or nervousness anyway, I do want to work on preventing separation anxiety to try to help, you know, try to prevent that from happening in a second. Yeah, every oops moment is a learning moment for us, but an icky moment for them. So, you know, it helps us go, oh, I didn't realize, you know, that was going to be an issue for my dog. But now I do. But my dog, you know, had that, you know. All right, so what? So the exciting news. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. So again, anxiety, big topic, broken down to subtopics. But the basic concept is keeping them in the comfort zone that they can be successful, that they're okay and happy with, and pairing that with something good. And doing that often. I mean, I don't, you know, like with Dexter as a puppy and Theo, I mean, I rewarded like mad. And again, the food, if I used food, was their daily calories. So for Dexter as a puppy, he was still, at that time, he was kibble and fresh fed. So I used both of those through all our training sessions. So he didn't eat out of a bowl when he was a puppy, just as a little bit of preventing resource guarding. He'd eat out of the bowl, and then I'd throw him chicken, or meat, I should say, whatever. Chicken pops out. But that's that whole concept. And then the oops moments. After an oops moment, by the way, or after anxiety, like after the thunderstorm, then usually they're more intense. So if we have the thunderstorm and it's gone and it's over, and we, don't go outside until you know that last roll of thunder is away, because their ears are 10 miles. I think they can hear thunder for 10 miles away. Because you don't want to be outside taking him for a potty and here's another rumble, because then they're gonna go, ugh, I don't trust you again. I thought you said it was okay and safe. So don't tell your dog it's okay when there's gonna be another rumble. You tell them it's okay when they are in a situation where it's okay, and they're not gonna be afraid of that. And then again, you're pairing that with something good, and over time that gets closer and closer. So if you have people or dogs, that distance will start to shrink, and your oops moments, we got to go back. So after an oops moment, if I was at 5 feet away from X, after an oops moment, I'm like 15, just to be safe. I'd rather give more than less. I'd rather just stay here for longer than go oops. I just go, I go really slow. Yeah, okay. I really want to see my dog going, this is totally jam. And then get a little closer to whatever, and then go. And then, by the way, your dog's always doing the closeness at these stages. And I appreciate you guys coming, and hopefully, and you guys stuck on, so hopefully it wasn't too boring and too general. I realize it was kind of general. But I guess I'm going to have to take the monkey for a last-minute potty break. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to both of our YouTube channels for more free content.